Hi everyone, Kelly here, and I want to talk about the things that I read in May. And May was a really up and down month. Like as in I had 2 5-stars and 2 2-stars, which I have only had, I think, one other 2-star this entire year. And so yeah, it was the polar opposites. And then I had 1 3-star. So let's start with my 3-star, and then I'm going to go like low, high, and talk about the 5 things I finished in May. So first is my 3-star. I read The Nature of Witches by Rachel Griffin. And this one was a little bit of a disappointment. I still think it was good, but just kind of average but disappointing because I had read her second novel, which every time I talk about this, I always forget. I think it's Wild as the Witch. And I really enjoyed that one. And so I was looking forward to going back to her other book about witches. And I didn't feel like this one was as, propulsive. I didn't feel like the characters were as rich. And I think part of it is that there's a lot of back and forth in this. So I like the concept of this, but in the details, it gets too repetitive. So this is a world where witches are known and they help to control the climate and the atmosphere and work with weather and all that, and they're by the season, so they'll be like spring, summer, winter witches and all that. And then every 100 years or whatever, there's like a Everwitch that has the powers of all the seasons. And so we are following the current Everwitch, and this is also like climate fiction, so we're getting to the point where the witches are not able to control what's happening in the climate because everything is kind of out of whack because of what humans are doing. And so then witches are dying because they're using up all their power trying to stop a hurricane from killing a bunch of people or whatever. And so there's a lot of extreme weather, and this Everwitch is supposed to be able to use her powers to really help. Her name is Clara, and so we're following Clara, and she doesn't really want to use her powers because of what has happened to, it's associated with her grief. She has killed somebody that she cares about because of her magic. And so this whole book is kind of a back and forth of oh, I want to keep my magic. No, I want to get rid of my magic. Oh, I can't connect with anybody because if I have connection with somebody, my magic will kill them. But no, I love this person or I care about them. And it is very repetitive because it goes back and forth between those things. And so that's why it was 3 stars for me. I really liked the concept of the world, but yeah, it just felt like we were on a loop doing the exact same plot point, both with her magic and with the romance over and over and over again. So I would recommend Wild as the Witch. And I think this was good and a lot of people liked it more than me, but yeah, it was a little too repetitive for me. So 3 stars. And then let's go with our 2 stars. And the thing with my 2 stars is that part of the reason I don't have very many 2 stars anymore is because I am DNFing a lot more things. I'm just not finishing books. But both of these were part of a series. And so I just wanted to finish them and, complete the series. And that probably was a bad idea because I should have just stopped. So this one is As Good as Dead by Holly Jackson. This is the last book in the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. And I really enjoyed the first 2 books in the series. I gave them 4 stars. And the reason they weren't 5 stars is because the main character makes really stupid decisions. And this one, I was every single decision she made, I was why? Why are you making these choices? And it's all leading to what happens in this book. And so then I'm well, now it just bugs me because it was the thing that bothered me a little bit in the first 2 books just became the whole plot in this book and just really took over. Part of it is that this is not a mystery. In the first book, we are following this teenager who, as kind of her big project, this is very shiny, so I'll put it down. Her big project, her senior year or whatever it is to solve a cold case, a disappearance, possible murder, they don't know. And so that's the first season. The second season is a missing person that she helps with. So those are mysteries that we are solving. And yes, she makes some dumb decisions along the way, but we are solving a mystery, so I was invested. This third book, there's not a mystery. The focus of the book was just her and all the consequences of her actions so far. And because I think she makes horrible decisions, then it just made me aggravated the entire time. I was just annoyed. And so I had been listening to an audiobook, and so I turned it up higher, but it's a very long book. So I turned it to a higher speed, but still, it took a long time to get through it. And I just finished it because I was it's the end of a mystery series. So I wanted to kind of see how it ended up, but I should have just given up probably. But then I would have always wondered, well, how does it end? So now I know how it ends, but I did not enjoy that book. 2 stars. And then 5 stars. So I am late to the Six of Crows bandwagon. You know, like, so how old is this book now? Probably 10 years old now. I had tried to read the Grishaverse, the Shadow and Bone series, and I had only gotten 1.5 books into that and then gave up on it. I didn't really like that series, and so I thought I would never read this one, but then I kept hearing people say, no, you can read it even if you haven't finished that series, like, because I still read it a book and a half, so I know how the magic worked. Like, I knew all the different, like, Grisha and all that, so I didn't really need the whole series to have the world building. And so I was like, okay, and this is a heist, so I'm like, well, I think I'll like this. And then what solidified it for me is that this Shadow and Bone TV series, the only part of that TV series that I was enjoying was the Six of Crows part, the characters from this book. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get it, and I did love it. It's a heist. It's a group of characters that all have like a viewpoint they're following, that are all like unique and have their like reason they're doing this heist, and the way it's kind of like, you know, there's mysteries of like what's happening along the way as like the plan falls apart and they have to create a new plan. And yeah, I just really enjoyed this. I enjoyed the characters, I enjoyed the heist, I enjoyed it all. I had a great time, and I went out and bought Crooked Kingdom right away. So I might be late to this, but you know, who cares how late you are as long as you enjoy the book. So I gave it 5 stars and really enjoyed it. And then next was my other 2-star, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins. This is the first prequel to The Hunger Games, and I had not been planning on reading this. When this came out, I was like, I don't care about Snow. I don't want to read Snow's story, so I wasn't going to read it. And then the other prequel came out this year, and I really wanted to read that, but I was like, well, maybe I should give this a chance since I want to read the other Sorry, my kids interrupted me, and now I'm trying to remember where I was. Okay, I think I was saying that I wanted to read the new prequel, and so that I felt like I should give this a chance. And also, my best friend had just read this, and she's like, are you going to read this book? Because I would like to talk about it with somebody. So I was like, well, I was on the fence because of the new one, so I might as well read it, and we could talk about it. And I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have read it because I really did not enjoy this. I actually was like, is this even written by the same person? Sorry, this is like the most chaotic review because my kids keep coming in and out of the door, in and out of the door, like slamming the front door. But I told them to stop coming in, just stay outside and play for like 5 minutes. But anyways, this felt like a different person wrote this. I think, and it isn't like a bad memory. Like, I just read The Hunger Games again last month, and I still gave it 5 stars. I still think it is so like compelling to read. I really like following Katniss. I think she's an interesting character. I like to be in her head. This was not interesting at all. Snow is the most boring person to be in his mind. He does not change this entire book. I am sincerely confused about people who put in their reviews that they're like kind of shocked at his like change at the end, or like that he changed really quickly. I'm like, he does not change at all. From the very beginning, we're in his mind, and we know, and he is the same selfish, only out for himself person from page 1 to the end. The only thing that changes is what he acts out. So his actions, but his mind is the same the entire time. He has no character growth in his mind. It's all just like maybe he does more actions as the book goes on, but his mind stays the same, which makes it so incredibly boring to read because he is just one note the entire time. He's just basically a narcissist, and that's just not very interesting to follow. Like when everything is just like, how can this benefit me? And what can I do to make it benefit me? It's just not very interesting to follow. And then it's like, well, maybe there'd be action to follow, because at least in the Hunger Games, there's action, there's stuff going on. You're not just in Katniss's mind. There's not even really action, because even when we're like in the games in this, we don't really get to see most of the action. It's just, it just goes by so quickly. And this is such a long book. It does not need to be this long when his internal thoughts are not interesting. The plot's not interesting. I should stop talking about this because I almost like want to give it 1 star because I I don't see why this was even written. I just don't understand like what her point was with this book, because it's not like, you know, some villain origin stories you really get to see how they came to be that way, and to this I'm like, I don't know if this adds anything to his character. In fact, it makes him more boring instead of more like of a evil villain or whatever. I don't know. So I'm gonna stop talking about it because I really didn't like it, and I just don't understand why it was even written. Like, truthfully. And I don't say that about most books because I'm like, oh, there's an audience for everything. You know, the author had a reason, but I really just do not understand the reason other than money to have written that book. I just don't get it. So let's move on to one that I loved. So the last book, my other 5-star, this is Paladin's Grace by T. Kingfisher. And this one, I had put this off for a long time because I didn't love Swordheart. So I love T. Kingfisher. I've read so many of her books. I really enjoy her writing and her humor and how she kind of combines like fantasy with a little horror. I really enjoy it. I love her main characters. And this is all in the world of the White Rat. So there's a couple like series in that. So I had read Clockwork Boys and The Wonder Engine. So that's like a duology that takes place in this world. Loved it. I really enjoy this. Probably are some of my favorite books by her. And then Swordheart is a standalone in the same world, and I did not enjoy that book. So many people love Swordheart. A lot of people, that was their like first intro to T. Kingfisher, and maybe that's the difference. Like if that's your first intro, you're just getting a first glimpse of her humor and all that. So maybe like that's why people love it. But I wasn't invested in Swordheart, probably because it's like a traveling story, and I just didn't love the main characters. So I've been putting this off because I was like, what if it's more like Swordheart and less like the Clock Tower duology that I loved? And especially since this is like more fantasy with a strong romance, this whole series. So I was a little worried, but I shouldn't have been worried. I absolutely love this and have already started the second book and bought the rest of the series. And I'm just really excited to follow this. And I haven't even told you what this is about. So this series is following a group of paladins. So all of these paladins used to serve a saint, the Saint of Steel or whatever the series is called. And then the saint dies. So like kind of like their god dies. And so they don't have that connection anymore. You know, paladins like sworn to like serve their, you know, saint or god or whatever. And so now it's like they have no purpose. They don't really know what to do. They also have, you know, killed a lot of people in service of the saint, and now having to like kind of figure out how to reconcile with that, and to be an average person when you are used to being this kind of, you know, this paladin person that is killing righteously for their saint. So they're kind of lost, and they go to work for the Temple of the Rat. And the Temple of the Rat are like the lawyers in this world, and so they're just kind of like sent to like be bodyguards or to help solve crimes or whatever. And in this one, we are following Steven, and he is mostly being a bodyguard and all stuff, but then he gets kind of invested in this like there's a murder, and he's trying to kind of figure out that, and there's some other weird stuff going on in the community that involve like some deaths, and so he's kind of trying to help the Temple of the White Rat solve these, while also doing some other kind of menial tasks for them. And through that, he meets what's her name, Grace, and Grace is a perfumer, and I love that we like really learn about how she creates scents and all that. Like we really get to follow her trade, and she kind of gets mixed up in all of these things that are happening as well. And so they are working to kind of solve some mysteries that are happening, and, you know, falling in love and all that stuff. They both have damage from their past, you know, him with like, you know, the whole like world changing. And then she has like an abusive past relationship. And so kind of like healing and also learning how to trust each other and trust themselves and all that. So I just thought this was so wonderful. Like, cause it has like everything I could want. I really love the Temple of the White Rat and their like just no nonsense, common sense kind of way of being. I loved our main characters. They're older, like a lot of times T. Kingfisher's characters are a little more older, a little more middle-aged. I don't think these characters are necessarily like my age, but I think they're closer to 30 than, you know, lower 20s, like a lot of other fantasy books. They're not like chosen ones. They're just people that are normal. Like Grace is just like a normal person, you know, like a normal tradeswoman, and then gets embroiled in these things. So I just really like the way she does that, like normal characters, but that, you know, end up having to do more in this fantasy world. And I love her humor. There are some like creepy moments in this, kind of like the mysteries they're solving is a little like off, you know, like a little horror-like. And I just loved it all. I loved everything about this. 5 stars, and already started the second one and enjoying it. And I'm excited to have like a new favorite series, hopefully, that I can read and to really be enjoying more T. Kingfisher. And so yes, I would recommend it. Whether or not you liked Sword Heart, I would recommend continuing onto that series. And I would definitely recommend the Clock Tower War duology, because I really enjoyed that one as well. And that's it. So up and down month, but the fact that I had 2 5 stars, I feel really good about, even though I had a couple 2 stars. At least they're off my TBR, and like one finished a series and all that. So I am overall satisfied, even though I had a couple 2 stars. I had some really good high points and series that I'm excited to continue, which is great. And so that's it for me. If you want to talk about any of these books, I would love to hear from you down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.